Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, January 28th, and we're starting late again. Let's see, win 2 games of any kind, do 65 damage to any hero, play rogue class cards. Suppose the one to reroll would be this one. Challenge a friend, let's see if we can do that. Not anybody right now, but maybe we can. Darn it. I had like 1 second to do that. Maybe Tragic or Noah will catch him. Meanwhile, let's see. Tavern Brawl will be back on Wednesday. We need to play rogue cards. Let's hop into that. I really, kind of more than ever before in my life, don't know how to get away from this seasonal affective disorder and just waking up at the wrong time and insomnia issue. I was awake up until about 10 in the morning today. I was recording Mystery Exile. I almost started to record Assassin's Creed 3, but it turns out Assassin's Creed 3 is getting a remaster. If you bought Odyssey, it seems like that's the only way you're going to get it. So, as somebody who owns Assassin's Creed 3 on Steam, I need to at least wait until that comes out to see what happens. And that's not happening, I think, until March. So while it would be nice for me to jump into that game, I want a little bit more information. So playing Myst 3, which is also a game I wanted to play, and it's going fine, and in fact it's going pretty quickly too, because Myst 3 is the game where you're on these tutorial islands, specifically designed for the younger kids of Atris. So it's supposed to just be worlds that are tutorials and puzzles, not really worlds that have life or well, it's not supposed to really have people or animals in it. If there are people or animals in these worlds, it's because they're part of a puzzle. So it makes everything a lot simpler. Myst 3 is also not actually made by Cyan. It's made by Presto Software, published by Ubisoft, instead of, well, the publisher that Cyan used at the time was actually the same publisher as Oregon Trail and Carmen Sandiego. And actually I went down the Wikipedia of who bought out that company. Turns out that it is a book company owns the rights to all those games, and that explains, I guess, in general, why we haven't seen any continuation of the Oregon Trail series or Carmen Sandiego series like it would have been treated if it was owned by a proper video game company. Now, most recently, there has been a Carmen Sandiego Netflix cartoon, and there was a licensing of Oregon Trail for a plug into the TV handheld toy. So there's something there, but not the thing that we use. But not enough interest, obviously, to license the game out to game developers. In all honesty, Oregon Trail is emulated with many other simulation games, so I don't know why you would license that. Carmen Sandiego, its original gameplay style is not really modern anymore, so it would be a hard sell to decide to put that, make a new one of those. So yeah, I made a few recordings and then I fell asleep again, and that's what this keeps running into as a problem, is that I can't get around the going to sleep at like 10, 11, 12 at night, sleeping for 4 hours, waking up, probably not immediately starting to record, so there's lost time. Then when I wake up the first time, I probably spend several hours either trying to go back to sleep or just not doing anything of productive. And then eventually I start recording, and then eventually I get tired again and I sleep for another 4 hours. And it seems like not all hours are made equally, because there are some hours where productivity seems to happen a lot more. Seriously? Alright. Say goodbye to Noah. I don't have time in my friends list to have people that are gonna decline things. Although, let's be fair, a lot of these people have long since stopped playing Steam, Battle.net games, and Hearthstone in particular. Even some of the ones that were on a week ago or yesterday or something, very possibly aren't playing Hearthstone. They're instead doing something completely different. You know, playing StarCraft, playing Heroes of the Storm, playing Overwatch. I say it every time, so let's just skip over the spiel about me not wanting this to be too long, and let's just start jumping into the news. There's not a ton of news, but I know a couple of things. We talked about a game called Nico Para Volume 3 as a serialized anime visual novel with sexual content in it, that seems to be pretty highly well regarded. Well, the story came out after we talked about Volume 3 coming out, that the developer is afraid about how, if, and what state Volume 4 will be released in on Steam. So, Steam's inconsistent policies, which were done to the least of them. I mean, this is the same thing with Patreon too. It's like, I know I still ask people to support me on Patreon, but I also fully understand that some people don't want to support Patreon because Patreon deplatformed, or Patreon with working with PayPal deplatformed like Alex Jones and a few other personalities, and so now people don't want to support an organization who isn't 100% supportive of free speech, even if it's disgusting speech. And so, yeah, I get it. There's that fear. Is my Patreon gonna get shut down? Probably not. In all honesty, if my Patreon gets shut down, it's because it just doesn't have any patrons on it at all, and has just been inactive. But I specifically looked when I was setting that up to see, hey, is there an inactivity clause to this? Because I would figured nobody would ever actually go for it. or very few people would actually go for it. From all the research that I've ever heard, your Patreon supporters, if you have like 100,000 fans, you may only have about 1,000 Patreons, depending on your audience, and that very possibly is an over-exaggeration. You may need under-exaggeration, actually. You may need 1 million fans before you get 1,000 Patreon supporters. Yeah. So yeah, to get back to video games, because Steam was inconsistent with a few games in their policies, which this very possibly was just a rogue employee, but they kind of took an approach to not throw somebody under the bus. And as sad as it might sound, that you might have been better off throwing somebody under the bus in this case, even if it really wasn't their fault. Like that probably would have been a smart move to say, you know what, we're just gonna blame a rogue employee, even if this rogue employee doesn't actually exist, and say that what was being done was not within the guidelines and he was intentionally misinterpreting the guidelines, and nobody needs to be afraid of being singled out and not allowed on Steam. And in all honesty, Steam is going to have to just grin and bear the fact that they may have to let a few people onto Steam that they actually don't want on Steam. And that might just be what it boils down to. I'm playing this totally wrong. By the way, clearly what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to get very specific cards for this. And this card, the Cobalt Illusionist, you're supposed to get this card and trigger its death rattle multiple times, and then use all those spell damage cards that I've been using to do a one-turn kill. And I'm not playing this anywhere close to that. So we've had 2 stories now where it's been it's been focused around Nicopera Volume 4 is worried. The developer of Honey Pop is worried. The developer of DOA is worried about his game, Dead or Alive's Extreme, in particular. With the he was talking about a boob jiggle toggle and having to censor himself. And I think that's really important to mention, is that, yeah, it isn't just a bunch of free speech warriors like me that hate censorship. It's the artists themselves, even if they aren't at liberty or in the position to speak out themselves. Any true artist knows they don't want to be censored. They knew that from the word go. Like, in even art classes, a truly creative person is going to ruffle their feathers at even having to follow the direction and guidance of a art project if it's too rigid. Alright, well, I really did not play this well, but we'll see if this actually works. I doubt it will, because I needed to fill a lot of this. Alright, so first game we have on Steam, coincidence or not, so we have Moe Hypnotist Share Your Dreams With You. It's all Asian characters, tagged nudity, adventure, visual novel. Odd that it says nudity and no sexual content. I imagine this is a Chinese game. It's $5.59. Yes, and it's simplified Chinese. So, yep, that's the first game. Looking at the screenshots here, you have a pretty young looking anime girls in the moe style, so, but no school outfits. So what I'm trying to see is if the school outfit thing was a misnomer, or if that is really what they're going by still. Oh man, I screwed up there. That was a mistake.
Justice is mine.
Could have done at least 4 damage. Next we have a game on Steam called Ancient Anathema. That's a word I haven't heard used in a while. Apparently it's a hidden object game in 3D. Looks to me like it's probably an asset flip game. It's suffering from dark screenshot syndrome severely. Man, I cannot see anything. That's one of the problems of playing Mystery. This game is $2.99, and of course I'm not going to put it on the fall list. But one of the definite problems of playing Mystery is knowing that there really isn't a good case of... let's go ahead and play this.
Monsters behind you. Justice is mine.
There's really not a good way to remake a game like Mystery or the Myst series, because you could do pretty good walking simulators with puzzles, and it doesn't have to be as complicated, thought out and thought out as the Myst series does. Alright, let's do this. We need this to survive, so I'm gonna play this. And then I'm gonna play this.
There once was a man from
Oops. Darn it, I had to...
There once was a man from
That is screwed that up.
Justice is mine.
Job's done.
So, yeah. Maybe we can still do this next time. GameIndustry.biz has an article. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe tops the EMEAA charts. Just Cause 3, Mortal Kombat XL, and Need for Speed Payback pushed in the top 10 thanks to digital discounts. So I think this is the top seller So I could see why New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe would be the top seller for this week. Yeah, that's something that I feel like you could easily say is there's been a lack of like major interest in might as well. I don't have any more cards. I guess we are playing cards. Yeah, there's a lack of AAA games coming out right now since it's January, so we are getting back up to a point where there's a lot of
Unity, precision.
a lot of anime games and visual novels coming out and just generic low effort asset flips on Steam, whereas once the real competition starts to happen, I think we'll start to see some more of that as well. Like, I don't even think of the remaining cards I have, any of them are even minions, so
You're good.
let's do that. Just play all the cards. Another story, I don't have a really source for it, but I heard that in Scotland some little kid brought like a knife to a playground and they were trying to blame Fortnite. Ridiculous, of course. Like, now personally I think maybe it's okay for kids to have knives. It used to be okay. Maybe that's just an old-fashioned way of thinking. Little pocket knives, little Boy Scout knives, little whittling knives weren't a big deal. There hardly was a rash of stabbings. In fact, I've heard more stories of kids falling or getting pushed on playground equipment and getting hurt because of that than I have of people with knives. That being said, it also probably is a little red flag on that kid that he's got some bad parenting or some mental issues, so I wouldn't completely dismiss it and say the kid is immediately alright, since we don't know that. But honestly, if you're blaming Fortnite, you're just blaming video games again, and that's pretty ridiculous. Like, there's nothing in Fortnite that tells somebody to bring a knife. Nor is there really even, to my understanding in Fortnite, a major emphasis on knives. Counter-Strike Go, in comparison, like, there's all kinds of K-bar knives in Counter-Strike Go. There's a whole economy around that. If you were gonna compare. Are we gonna have to start just randomly friending people? Let's see. To see if we can get some challenger friends. And see, I just need to do more damage at this point. I think Tragic's taking a break. So we'll just play Zoo Warrior and rank. Let's see, I'm trying to think of other games that would have been like pro knife violence quite a bit. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, there's very, very few games out there where there's a protagonist that uses a lot of knives. Counter-Strike Go is probably the best example, but most games you're using some form of some kind of game gun. Dead Island, I suppose. But I doubt any kids these days are playing Dead Island. For Honor uses swords. Scene. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the bad parent blaming the video games for their lack of observing their own child and seeing if they are in the mental state to be responsible to be around weapons. I've certainly known kids that are mentally crazy. I'm not gonna say mentally disabled, straight up crazy, that seem to have bad parents that seem to let them get access to weapons, and that's kind of always the story, is that people know the person is crazy usually long before they do anything, and it's a lack of an ability in the United States for the government to transfer a child to either a facility or take them out of their parents' home whatsoever. And the facility and mental health facilities in the United States basically suck, so that's a problem too. There's not a lot new to say about this topic though, because it's just the same thing over and over again.
Nice to meet you.
Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has a article. Jagex is up for sale as the Chinese owner seeks to restructure. So Fukong Interactive announces intention to seek buyer for all parts of its stake in the RuneScape developer. So I don't know if there's anything recent has happened in RuneScape. Let's see. So yeah, that, I guess a lot of that really just boils down to how interested are people in RuneScape these days. Let's go ahead and play that. Next we have a game on Steam called The Legend of Raz, which looks like it's a slow running platformer. So this is either a student project made from scratch or a game made in a game development tool kit infrastructure that is really old and really inefficient. There's nothing here that looks great as a game, although I will say the art does look better. I kind of question what's all these life bars on the side and permanent edges at the top and left. This is $9.99. And you're shooting a bow while platforming, which is an interesting thought, but it would have to go a lot faster. So of course this is not a game I'm gonna put on the wish list. Let's see here. Here. Draw. In the turn. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Ottoman Empire Spectacular Millennium. This looks like an asset flip game, just walking around an open world with some random items barely placed. A variety of the items, but nothing particularly interesting. Look how you're going from like guns to dinosaurs. This game is all over the board. It says you're traveling through time, and I just watched a speed run of Time Splitters 2. This game is $25.99. This is English and Turkish, and there's nothing impressive here. And so, like, Time Splitters as a series was some of the people who made GoldenEye. So if you ever kind of wondered why there was no continuation of that, there actually was. Time Splitters 1 and 2, and I don't think there was a Time Splitters 3, but maybe. But they kind of threw out any real story and just have a very paper thin concept in which you travel through time and shoot people at different levels, and that is that. It kind of had a sort of funny perverted sense of humor, I suppose is what you would call it. But it was kind of a weak shooter, and it was probably too late when it came out for it to ever gain a major following to the point that we would still have Time Splitters games coming out today. So the truth is, I guess, that we really are still in the same position where you kind of need to have a story. Halo, a Mass Effect, a lot of Halo's story is kind of paper thin and dumb, but you still kind of need it. You need to pretend like you care for your shooter games. So yeah, I don't think anything would really change even in modern times if you tried to make something like Time Splitters, particularly on Steam, because like so many people could have done that already, and it would just be called an asset flip game, like so many other games. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz. EA BioWare refutes lack of planning for trouble in the Anthem demo. BioWare defends against accusations of underplanned VIP weekend, highlights Fortnite type numbers on Twitch. So apparently the Anthem VIP weekend did not go well, and they say 300,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch followed it, which is Fortnite type of viewers, as in humans. Those Fortnite type of viewers. I'm still very uninterested in Anthem. I don't know what Anthem could really do to sell me on it. Well, you know what? Like, the thing they could sell me on it is do something extreme. Like, if they came out in Anthem and introduced massive amounts of blood, violence, horror, gore, you know, even if they went with the Bulletstorm approach and swore a lot, that would be at least something to catch my attention, because right now it's just very generic. And you're not going to be able to go wholesome on a shooter game. It's got to do something to differentiate itself away from Destiny, which is pretty generic in the first place. You know, sex sells, so if they have to go that route, that would be another thing to do. The truth is, like, the reason why I like Borderlands as a series is it goes extremely silly. It goes extremely like frat boy comedy, and so if that's what it has to be, then that's what it just has to be. I still need to do 5 more damage to the enemy, so we'll hop into one more game. Let's see. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called The Trials of Olympus: Wrath of the Gods. Trials of Olympus 2.
Gul'dan!
I think I may actually have had this game on my follow list, so
Shall be mine.
I might consider this, but at the moment, if the first game is on the follow list, that means that the first game came out relatively recently compared to this, and that they're shoveling out too many games too fast for my taste. And even if that is the case, then I can just leave this off the follow list, and then when I decide, oh, I actually do want Trials of Olympus 1, I hopefully will be able to do some research and find out that there is a sequel, or I can try the first game, purchase it, and then have to and then play it before I actually buy the sequel, which would be a smart move too, certainly. Let's see, Komatsu has an article, Murder Detective Jack the Ripper teaser website opened. This detective adventure game is due out April 25th in Japan. That's pretty much all we have, other than a screenshot of kind of a Two-Face style character. Anime Jack the Ripper character. Honestly though, if you're going with the theme of Two-Face split personality, which is what that image invokes, why are you doing Jack the Ripper and not Mr. Hyde?
Why do you fall?
Do I have to?
I forgot the other personality's name, the original personality's name. It's something in Mr. Hyde, and I've forgotten the first part. It's been so long since I've thought about that story. But yeah, that would be a better story to do. And the concept, if it is what I think it is, which I think it is, that you're playing as a detective investigating murders, only to eventually realize that you are the person committing the murders also, or your split personality is. It's not a terrible concept, it's more of a TV movie concept than a video game concept, because once you have that reveal, it's going to become old hat pretty quickly. Next we have a game on Steam called Biathlon Battle VR, which is skiing and shooting.
Don't tell me what to do! You fight like a drum!
This doesn't look terrible, but it's a VR only game. It's $8.49. It's English Russian. It would be something different to do if you owned VR, but at this point it doesn't look like it's a top tier AAA VR game, and if I'm gonna keep any games on my wish list or my follow list, they really have to be top tier AAA video games. I really have no interest in a game that probably has bad shooting and probably has bad skiing, since it's not really gonna focus on either one of those.
Free me.
And in the turn there. I kind of don't think I'm gonna get all the news done today, which is fine. for Monday, that's kind of how it should go.
From the void.
Deal 4 damage, discard a card.
Sure, send the little guy. Sure, send the little guy.
Job's done.
In return. Next we have a game on Steam called Hero Staff. This looks like a Game Boy game, but in color, and a weird wide resolution. So it's like a Zelda clone. It's coming out directly from that point. Somebody just came online and that was loud.
Why do you call?
And see, when you're actually playing it, it's full screen, so you don't have to look at it at that bar. I don't know. Like, generally speaking, I wouldn't say yes to this kind of game, but I'm gonna put it on the follow list and give it a chance. Like, it's full screen, it's zoomed in to the right level for its level pixel graphics. I don't inherently just hate all pixel graphics, just most of them.
So many possibilities.
Sure, send the little guy.
Do that. And hit that. Then do that. And hit that.
Sure, send the little guy.
That. So yeah. Hero Staff. We'll give it a chance. We'll see what people have to say for it. It's discounted to $4.49 right now.
Grant me wings.
Okay. We can do 2 damage. And we probably do need to do 2 damage. So what do we want to do 2 damage to?
So many possibilities.
This one will kill that one. So let's do this one to kill that one. This here to kill that one. Let's do that. Wind Fury. No. Divine Shield. Second best option. Kill that. There we go.
Hyric, grant me wings.
See, next we have a game on Steam called Connectome Pain Control, which says it's a fighting violent game. Yeah, if these were the Anthem character models and there was a level of brutality that I was, I think, seeing in the video here, in it, where the Anthem characters were just punching each other hard and harsh, that might catch my attention. So have it where you do still run and gun, but if you get in close, you do some killer animations. You'd have to spend a lot of this. Now, as for this game, this looks like a weirdly animated boxing game for the most part, and I kind of hate the visual style here. It's too bright and flashy. Too cyberpunk for its own good, or in cyberspace. There's just random things appearing as far as statues around here. Stars is $77.99, and it's probably a Chinese game. So I'm gonna skip this, but this is close. It certainly is close to. Alright, so we'll just silence that. I don't have enough to do everything, so we'll do this. Oh, for Wind Fury, didn't get it. Do this, draw cards,
Job done.
and in the turn. Next, we have a game on Steam called Holy Potatoes, We're in Space. This is part of the Holy Potatoes series. Actually, this didn't come out anytime recently. This is just something that somebody linked on to. And I was looking at this animation style, and I do like this animation style, I just don't like the general concept of what the game is. I think I've already considered the Holy Potato series and decided either to put it on the wish list or not, and for that reason I'm gonna just close this tab and not reconsider it. Even if I do kind of like this art style, you don't get to look at it too often. It's, I think, supposed to be like an FTL style of game. Alright. Do this. Draw this. There we go. That was what we needed. Wind Fury. Got it. Victory. I really do handcuff myself by spending so much time outside of playing Hearthstone doing other things. Alright. So let's go ahead and see if we can add this person as a friend too. Meanwhile, I'm gonna spectate this person and see how close they are.
Justice demands retribution.
Yeah, they're not too bad from losing. Game of Sutra has an article. NPD crowns Call of Duty the top-selling console game in the U.S. for the 10th year in a row. So Call of Duty is still successful, I suppose. There we go. And we'll just play through Warlock. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has kind of an opinion piece, I think, here, unless they've got somebody they're quoting, which would then be quoting somebody else's opinion, or some hard numbers to back up this accusation. GameIndustry.biz has this article: Gaming mirrors Facebook's crisis of credibility. On addiction and loot boxes, the industry's lack of transparency will prevent it from getting the benefit of the doubt. Let's see. So this is quoting Zuckerberg talking in parts of it, and this is a pretty long article. The general sentiment, I guess, I for the most part agree with. That video game companies do seem to lack some credibility, particularly the big AAA ones. It's weird, you give a no-name indie developer more credibility than you would give EA.
Nice to meet you.
And this. Gamma Sutra has an article. Get a job. Infinity Ward is hiring a senior visual effects artist. That's in Woodland Hills, California. Let's see. Infinity Ward. I'm a little surprised Infinity Ward is hiring. It's good to see. It's always good to see when people are listing jobs, but it doesn't really mean as much as you might think it means, because you know, Telltale was hiring right up until they went out of business. Well, I can kill this guy. So I guess I should. Komatsu has an article. Record of the Argus War of Marriage release date has been moved up to January 31st, due out a day earlier than originally planned. Let's see. Record of the Argus War of Marriage was originally planned to launch on February 1st, which will now release for PC via Steam a day earlier, January 31st. Publisher Idea Factory. I didn't realize Idea Factory. What was that just popped up there? I didn't know that they were the ones making that series. Interesting. And the record of series of games is still one in consideration of many that I very possibly would consider playing as far as JRPGs. Although this one is tagged nudity and sexual content, I don't get that. I didn't think that was the record of the... Maybe the record of the Lotus War and record of the Argus War are actually completely different series. I thought they were connected.
What now?
Light the fuses!
But I'm definitely not getting the feeling that they are the same game series at all. As I'm looking at this trailer and seeing a bunch of moe anime girls in scantily clad high fashion clothing. Yeah, this is confusing me. Let's see.
I wonder.
I guess maybe Record of the Lotus War is not related to that. Interesting. I'm gonna have to remember that. Silence.
Your magic shall not
Someone. Attack. So yeah, Record of the Argus War Marriage is a JRPG. Doesn't look terrible by any means, but it really is going to boil down to your tolerance for both. Let's see, we'll show it off. It's going to really just boil down to your tolerance for moe anime girls and one moe anime boy, and your tolerance for what is a old school classic JRPG fighting game, and the amount of grinding that usually is around this. In all seriousness, you probably wouldn't want to play this as your first JRPG. This probably would be at the end of the list. But I'll put this on the fall list and see what people say about it. And I imagine there's probably more games in this series. So it's probably not even the first one. There was a Reddit post, kind of circle jerking, I guess is the right word, Nintendo, that they were saying that Nintendo sets a new standard for being honest about resetting and restarting Metroid Prime 4. if it was anybody else besides Nintendo, that kind of response would not have ever been made. Let's just face it. As a former hyper Nintendo fanboy myself, this is the exact kind of Nintendo can do no wrong mentality that I engaged in at times, almost certainly. Although I don't think I was ever that that much of a raving lunatic on it. I would probably just stay silent in a case like this and not say anything, not try to defend it as something that is great and has never been done before. People announce delays and restarts all the time because they have to, because of they're publicly traded companies. Although I think Nintendo is, in at least Nintendo of Japan, is a privately held company, but that still doesn't matter too much, because had they not announced the remaster now, the reboot or the restart of development Metroid Prime 4, then they would have just had to announce tons of delays for years and years and years, and that's all they've really done. Is they've very early in development delayed the release of the game by several years. And don't get me wrong, I would love to see the video game industry more honest, but we shouldn't overly reward companies for being honest. It feels a lot like saying, well, I should vote for this corrupt politician because at least he's honest about his corruption. And it's like, we should expect better. And we really should expect better than that.
Your magic shall not save you.
Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article, A Culture of Quality. Friday the 13th developer Ilphonic is hiring. They're looking for the studio developed the number 3 game on the PlayStation Store, Friday the 13th, the game, which they can't sell anymore. Interesting. I'm surprised they can afford to do what they claim they're going to be doing here. Alright, that's 3 daily quests. One more than we really needed to do. Let's hop into the European account. Apparently, they're ramping up production for several unannounced projects. According to the leaders at the studio, this led to opening a new studio in Tacoma, Washington in November 28th, in addition to their headquarters in Golden, Colorado. And this seems like crazy. There are currently 16 positions opened right now. This is crazy amount of growth. Now we have a watch and learn quest and 260 quests. So let's re-roll this, even though we shouldn't. Defeat 3 dungeon bosses? Alright, I can do that. I hope somebody comes online so we can watch and learn. Not the Boomsday Project, not that one. This. Ilphonic was founded 12 years ago. Let's see. What are we doing over here? Beasts? Beast with Death Rattle, so I'll take this one. Let's see. They worked on such games as Dead Alliance, Star Citizen, Evolve, Armored Warfare, Crisis 3, and Nexer. I guess they were a third-party company, So they weren't nobodies.
Let the hunt begin.
But I thought they would have been in worse shape than it seems like they're projecting here. They must have gotten some contracts. And frankly, the only real problem with Ilphonic is that they did not do the copyright research to realize that they were in shady waters with making a game based around Friday the 13th, because that copyright was in dispute. Let's see. But I wouldn't immediately rule out working for them if I was looking for that kind of job. Draw 3 cards, reduce the cost to 0. I guess I have to do this, don't I? There we go. I'm gonna win in like 2 or 3 turns here. Let's see. Okay. Play this. And just run straight to the victory. Next we have a game on Steam called Adventureland, the Code MMORPG. I don't like the idea of Code and MMORPGs and 8-bit graphics all trying to be sold together as a single game. Clearly this is like a half-finished project where they're trying to make it where you program the rest of it. It's early access, $14.99, and yeah. I don't see anything interesting there. Now, let's see. Start with an extra mana crystals. Your minions cost 5 or more. Your spells cost 1 less. How many spells do I have? Not enough to justify that. How many minions do I have that cost 5 or more? None. So we'll just start with an extra mana crystal. And we could take that. We could go down that route. I think this is the route to go to. And play. Gamer Switcher has a blog, Houdini Peers that disappear. This is a blog about procedural generation of models, things like planks and such, and pillars and things that were procedurally generated in Rime, I think was the game, not Rise, yeah, Rime. Which Rime was kind of a failure of a game. It was very pretty looking, but clearly if they spent so much time on this, that kind of explains why there wasn't an actual game there. Like, yeah, there's a thought that maybe they got too much into the details and then didn't work on the bigger parts. So yeah, there's these peers, and they apparently randomly procedurally generate themselves, but most people wouldn't even notice that. What people noticed about that game was that there was kind of nothing to do in it, and it was super short, and it wasn't really good. So this might be a cool idea in theory for a programmer, but if I was given the time to do a couple different things, I think the last thing I would do is have procedurally generated peers. I could see the idea, I could see the desire there, but I would have to really ask myself, what scale of game am I making? If I was making an island as big as The Witness, procedurally generating things might be worth it, but if I'm making a smaller style of game, it's probably not. And there's a lot to be said about handcrafting things. Everything in the Myst series, for example, since I'm playing Myst right now, is handcrafted. Every single thing was thought out and animated, and that stops a lot of repetition and boringness. Whereas I just finished playing the game Grow Up, which is a sequel to Grow Home. Grow Home is a lot better than Grow Up in my opinion. And Grow Up feels very copy and pasty. It feels like they took the exact same layout of some of the floating islands from the first game and did nothing new to them, and did basically the exact same thing with even islands from this game. So, like, you never really run into anything that's like, oh, that's cool. That's something somebody spent some time on. Instead, you just run into, oh, this is just the same old. And it makes it very boring. And then you can pretty early in Grow Up skip from even having to look at a majority of the game's art, because you just fly over it. Okay. Here we go. Well, that didn't work quite as well as I wanted it to. But I think we're still cool.
Job's done.
Next, we have another game on Steam called The Voice from Heaven. At this point, it seems pretty obvious that this HH Games, the publisher who published the other Match 3 game, is flooding Steam with Match 3 games. They don't look terrible, but they seem to be a little too similar to each other, quite frankly. And the last thing I'd want to see is Steam be flooded with Match 3 games. Although that would take a little bit of time, frankly, too. It's not like there's a ton of them. There might be a ton of them, but not enough that it matters. Alright, so how are we gonna do this? If I play this, that's probably the only thing that's going to motivate him to possibly attack this instead of that. He still probably isn't, but that's the best I can do. I only need a couple more bits of damage, so I might just be able to win this with brute force. Yeah. So yeah, The Voice from Heaven, discounted to $3.99, a Match 3 game. Not gonna make it to the fall list. Anything from HH Games at this point is not gonna make it to the fall list. They've burnt their goodwill that they had. Okay. And look at that, like we could play all of this and it doesn't really matter because I could have just attacked here and won. See, next we have a game on Steam called Warships 3D, which is just Battleship. I've yet to see a good Battleship game on Steam, and that's odd because there is actually a Battleship game from Hasbro on Steam. This doesn't look too terrible. Does it have single player? It says it does. It's $5.94 discounted. It's just not quite good enough. And in all honesty, how often am I going to play Battleship in my life? Once, twice, maybe a dozen times in total. It'd be hard to justify that purchase. Really, really hard. Alright, so health, damage, that. Call the Wild, Call the Wild. I don't think we need any more of that. Let's go with these beasts. And move on. Gamer Sutra has an article. Nintendo's former, quote, indie and advocate Damon Baker joins up with Xbox. Damon Baker, Nintendo's former head of partner management, has joined with Xbox to serve as the team's head of portfolio. Baker shared the move on Twitter today, just weeks after announcing he left Nintendo after over a decade with the company. So that's a big deal because it was Nintendo with the Switch and the eShop that was really doing a great job with getting indie developers. So then the question is, did Damon Baker as a leader establish such a great team that he's not needed anymore? Or has Damon Baker just took all of his connections and all of his skill to get those indies to the Switch and moved it to the Xbox? Because let's face it, the Xbox could benefit with more indies at almost any point. Any console could. The article goes on. It's a role similar in nature to his previous position, and the Switch seems to now sees him now working to further his Xbox efforts with external developers. You know, if Damon Baker was the one that was getting all the visual novels on the Switch, that getting more Japanese friendly games on an Xbox potentially might be a way of actually giving an Xbox a chance of succeeding in Japan, which it really hasn't ever done up until this point. Like Xbox One, nobody bought it in Japan. Xbox, the Xbox original, nobody's bought it. Xbox 360, nobody really bought it. So if they could get more licenses, maybe it would get them a little bit of play in Japan, which they really do need that. Like they need to be in that market somewhat. Let's see. Baker describes himself as an advocate for indie gamers, and his previous and now current position reflects that quality. Prior to joining up with Xbox, Baker spent over 12 years at Nintendo, and most recently played a major part in curating indie game push that hit the Nintendo Switch shortly after the system launch in 2017. The other thought you could take from this is maybe he just got burned out at Nintendo. But why would you take a similar job if you were burned out? Got the Wind Fury on the first one. Great. As Baker detailed in an interview that year, the effort was meant to learn from the mistakes of the Wii U's lackadaisical third-party support and ensuring the game developers were armed with the knowledge they need to make the best of the Switch's hardware this time around. Now, Xbox's head of portfolio Baker says he'll be a key player in evaluating all second and third party content to further Xbox strategies alongside ID at Xbox director Chris Charla, Xbox Games Marketing General Manager Aaron Greenberg, and Xbox head Phil Spencer. So he's definitely a big time player. Let's see. Another 3 attack. Now as for this, I'm just gonna kill this guy and do this, play this, miss, that, do that, and return. So that's probably the biggest news of today. That the indie guy from Nintendo is now running Xbox. Meanwhile, I think one thing you might infer from this is you're not getting that kind of news for PlayStation, and I just am worried about competition at a certain point now, where I'm not sure there will be a third competitor in the next generation if Sony can't get its stuff together. It may be just Xbox and Nintendo next generation, and PlayStation may fall so far below that it's not really a competitor at all. And I like having 3 strong competitors in the market. Maybe we need 4, but I wouldn't want 2, and I definitely wouldn't want 1. Let's see if this can do enough. Not quite enough. Next we have a game on Steam called Ninja Power Slasher. This doesn't look terribly animated, but I feel like it's, when I was watching the video here, it felt like it might just be a little too much beat 'em up and hack and slashing for me. Yeah. See how there's like a forward slash and a jump and downward slash, and you're just kind of staying in the same place, and it's kind of slow, and you're trying to position and dodge these floating bullets. It just doesn't feel like there's enough polish on here for a game that would be probably just that and nothing else. It's 99 cents, so you're probably not getting good quality there. So yeah, I'm gonna skip that. It's close though. Alright, so if I play stealth and this, and then do this, I am set up to win.
So many wonderful poisons.
See, I think we've got this. Yep, we've got this. Victory. See, next we have a game on Steam called CQC, Close Quarters Combat, which looks like a top-down real-time strategy game, which is really not what I would consider close quarters combat. And yeah, this just kind of feels like nothing too impressive. I'm not impressed by this title, I'm not impressed by this thumbnail. It's early access for $13.99. Yeah, not seeing anything there that would be interesting. I'm not sure how a close quarters combat with guns style game would work in a way that I'd like it. I mean, I guess in the long run, you have
legendary sword be busting in half. Not my fault.
like, yeah. When you think of like Bioshock was very close quarters combat too, but and that was first person perspective. I think pretty much any first person perspective game does play towards that mentality. Let's see, I'm just gonna take this. And we'll...
My turn. I be looting all the loots, you be booting down the loot chute.
So let's see if we can beat this guy while we're here, because might as well, you know. While that is happening, our next game on Steam is called Noel's Hope, which looks like immediately a asset flip survival game of some sort. The video does not look like it's actually going to show me anything. The graphics look terrible. This is early access for $2.69 discounted. So yeah, nothing there interests me. I'm gonna take this out. That might be a mistake, it might not. But I figured it. So he spends 3 mana to find a treasure. Start with that.
Destroy the treasure!
Apparently I've never done this fight before.
Oh, precious candle. Shh, no, I'll take.
Magic candle. There we go. I cheated death. Draw 3 cards, reduce their cost. Alright. That'll work. That'll work. And that will work.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Seance: The Unquiet Demo 2. The idea of a seance in a game, this is a VR game, might be an interesting idea. The animation here doesn't look terrible. I wish it wasn't a VR game though. And see, seems like it's just going to be sitting around a table and then hearing spooky sounds and telling spooky stories this whole time. The idea... Seance will not be produced or released as a full experience. We're continuing to explore the work we did here with other projects such as The Haunted Graveyard, which is now available here on Steam. So this is a demo to a game that never is coming out. There's no reason for me to ever look at that game then, is there?
To my side.
Destroy a random enemy minion. And take out all the damage I can. There we go.
You know, take candle.
The problem with making a game where you're sitting around a table, you're sitting around the table doing a seance and telling stories, is that it just requires a lot of writing at that point. There was a game that came out with a lot of writing, and then the animation looked horrible and nobody wanted to play it. And so, frankly, even people that did want to do the writing part of it and read the hear the stories, they basically had to come out with a new version to try and re-entice people to play it. I forget what the name of that game was though. It was like a Devolver Digital game. The giant Grim Reaper walking around the map. Moving on, let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article, Metroid Exodus for PC, skipping Steam for the Epic Games Store. Pre-orders to other stores will be honored, but Valve criticizes the move as, quote, unfair to Steam customers, especially after a long pre-sale period. So yeah, Steam's not happy about it. And I think, to be fair, there is not really a lot of precedent on Steam's part of being incredibly unfair to customers. Steam sales, not the greatest, not as good as they used to be, have never been terrible. Whereas Valve could have never had a Steam sale, quite frankly, if they didn't want to. We've gotta kill some things. Wish I had charge. But I don't, so I'm gonna just do that. And that's about as good as it's gonna get. He's gonna probably attack. That. Can this guy not attack? No, he can totally attack. So yeah, more things are coming to the Epic Store and not Steam. Steam is gonna have to Steam's gonna have to find some ways to compete or do something. Update to this article, Valve has updated the store page for Metro Exodus with a notice that it will discontinue pre-orders on Metro Exodus later today. While it now acknowledged that the game and DLC will be fully supported for any of those who pre-ordered on Steam, Valve clearly took issue with the move. Quote, we think the decision to remove the game is unfair to Steam customers, especially after a long pre-order period. We apologize to Steam customers that were expecting to be able to play it to be available for sale through the February 15th release date, but we were only recently informed of the decision given limited time to let everyone know.
Soldiers of the cold dark, obey the call.
Do we kill that, I guess? That's the best we can do. Speaking of third-party websites, because I was about to play Assassin's Creed 3, I went to Uplay, and Uplay immediately said, we need your two-factor authentication, and I'm like, I never set up a two-factor authentication on Uplay. And I'm double checking and I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, I never set this up. I know I didn't. And then I just exited out and tried to log in again. And guess what? I hadn't ever actually set up a two-factor authentication. Let's see. I need to do this, unfortunately. So that. And spell damage, and attack, and evasion. There's okay, so that means I can just attack here. And then the turn. So yeah, looking at you play is just kind of a nightmare. Like it really is just total garbage as far as product, and it doesn't even seem like it has a storefront anymore. So I don't know if Uplay ever had a storefront where it was actually trying to sell you games, or if it was just a more of a case of that was the place that you let's see. I guess it doesn't matter, so let's start with this, play this, and you can't really do enough damage, so the rest of these are just going down this way. In return. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Uplay kind of slows down. With Myst 3 and Myst 4 being allowed on Steam again, I wouldn't be surprised if it really does boil down to that they say we're gonna stop with the Uplay stuff. I assume that the most recent Assassin's Creed games still integrated Uplay, but a lot of that too might just be wishful thinking on my part. And I cannot get a word in edgewise here, so I'm gonna lose. Not super surprising. He's got 12 cards, I have 23.
I'll take some of that.
Let's see. Taunt. +1. This. Attack. Next we have a game on Steam called Ellie, which is from Illuma Corp, which is a troll game developer. I'm fairly certain I recognize their name. Even if it isn't a troll game, it definitely doesn't look like it's particularly interesting. But yeah, you can see 85 games for $11.17. English-Russian game. So, animation doesn't look terrible, but yeah, not something really too interesting. I'm just gonna leave things where they are, I suppose. Got tons of these, so unless I could, well, wait a minute. I think we've got something here. Can't attack, freeze any enemy that touches it. I think I may have won. I'm gonna hold on to any more cards going forward, and I'm just gonna wait 10 turns and attack each time. Because if he can't find a way to replace this, he's screwed himself. Yeah, he's screwed himself. He can't summon anything. So unless he plays something like Vanish, we're cool. And I'm just gonna build up my hand. Meanwhile, over here we have a game called Once Astray, which it looks like it's a little too dark for me. It's like you play as a wolf or something in kind of an adventure game. It's just not visually appealing enough, though. It's free, so I guess price is right. But yeah, it's just too dark. It's just not pretty enough. It's not polished enough. All right. So 8 more turns, unless he can find something to do. A couple of Resident Evil 2 bits of news. Resident Evil 2 Remake is like the best-selling everything for Capcom. I don't have the exact story up here, so I don't know how to say it, but Resident Evil 2 did better than Resident Evil 7 in some metrics, and it's been super successful. Probably a lot of lack of competition helped there compared to when Resident Evil 7 came out, but yeah, I don't even want to cast a spell. Let's just guarantee a victory here if we can. Like, I'm gonna have him down so much that even if he could start doing damage right now, he might draw himself to death. And these Nebula cards don't do anything because they can't be summoned. 3 more turns. There's the candle. Notice he's gone real quiet too. They didn't program for this scenario. This is just a coincidence of how it played. See, and I'm just not gonna... I'm willing to even burn some of my cards if it gets down to that. Yeah. And there's kind of nothing that could happen now that wouldn't cause me to win. There we go. So the article in front of my face, though, is a Komatsu article. Resident Evil 2 adds the Ghost Survivors mode February 15th. Explore the what-if stories of 3 unfortunate souls. These are characters. They're not Hunk and Tofu. So apparently either that section has... that DLC has already happened, or it's still to come. These are pictures of like 3 characters that you probably would only recognize had you played the Resident Evil 2.
What? Nobody is walking away with cobalt treasures!
So there we go. We won. Yay! Let's see what we get in this pack. We could still get good cards in this on the European account. We didn't, but we could. Yeah, I'm really trying to stay away from Resident Evil 2's remakes, and you know, I still kind of would like to play the remake of Resident Evil 1 for better or worse as it is, and then play 2, but I could also see myself skipping straight to 2. I need to finish The Evil Within 2. I purchased that, so that would be a slight higher priority. And can we watch and learn? No. And have we played anybody to add a friend? No. Alright. So our other thing is to just draw 30 cards, and notice we drew a lot of cards in those games and none of that counted. So let's just hop in here, and we were playing Hunter and we were playing Warlock before, so let's Warlock would be the right move to go by though, so let's just play Warlock again. Apologies for repetition. Gematsu has an article. P-Cube and Art Co. announced an original IP visual novel with some teaser artwork. I guess we can show what the teaser artwork is on the web peak. A anime girl in what would be a potential school outfit. Maybe, maybe not. Depending on how Steam does that. And it seems like she either fell down or jumped on the ground and has something in her hand. That's literally all this has as far as information. We can see the article says Art Co.'s previous works were a handful of Doraemon titles for the 3DS, Unchained Blades, REXX, and EXXIV, and more. Let's see. Just stick with that, I guess. And then P-Cube is the publisher that keeps, I think, getting in trouble with trying to publish games and then them not being censored enough for the UK, the US's likes. So I don't think they're a very good publisher, but people seem to keep going with them. Probably because they don't have much other options when it comes to visual novels. TechRaptor has an article. Resident Evil 2 is Capcom's biggest launch in 2 years, tops the UK charts. So it is in the #1 title, I guess, for this week. Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out pretty soon, though, so Resident Evil 2's success might fall off a cliff if people really are going to play Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, that is questionable. But even after that, like Metro Exodus, Crackdown 3, and Far Cry New Dawn are all coming out in the next few weeks. So, what's funny is Capcom once said that the horror survival market for games was too small for them to make another Resident Evil game, and now it's their biggest game ever. But that doesn't inherently mean they were wrong at the time they said it, and they probably were wrong in BSing at the time, but it is also possible that, like, in certain years it wouldn't have sold very well. I think we already talked about this, but I'll say it again. Gamasutra has an article. Ubisoft will modify Assassin's Creed Odyssey's DLC following feedback. This is the DLC that makes you go straight and have a child. I don't know how they said the content was initially going to remain unchanged, but now they're going to change it. Let's see. I think it still will not be enough for a lot of people, like, because in the end I still think you're going to end up with having a child with a character, and it's going to be really, really hard to dance around that. So I'm going to see if I can add this person as a friend so we can watch and learn. See, that was 5 of 30 cards. I won too early, but I'll take the victory regardless. So just give him a few seconds to accept. That's enough time. Let's move forward. Gamasutra has an article. A modder has spent 3 years recreating The Legend of Zelda in Doom, thus making it a 3D first-person perspective game for no real good reason. Let's see.
Gul'dan versus Anduin. The light shall bring victory.
Your soul shall be mine.
There's a quote here. After almost 3 years, I need to realize that I probably won't get the time to ever get anywhere with this project, let alone finish it. So this is an unfinished project too. So he didn't actually finish it, which, like, I don't know. Maybe you report on that. Maybe you don't. Like, you're highlighting an unfinished project. I think for me and most gamers, unfinished games or unfinished mods are of no real interest. They're not something that's actually worth reporting on. And I don't want to just inherently dismiss somebody's efforts, but you know, people try things and they don't succeed all the time. That doesn't, as a video game critic, give me any reason or rhyme why I would want to like cover that game or play it or show it off. I have kind of done that in a couple of places where I've played like demos and shown them off, and then there are demos of games that were never going to be made, but I probably shouldn't have even done it in that one case that I'm thinking about, where it was a Stranger Things demo. Let's go and draw a card. TechRaptor has an article called Production line beta is here, price increase coming soon. This is probably a hype game. It's a game that caught my eye because you're on a car production line assembling a car. Inherently, though, the game is in early access and it's a game where you're doing somebody else's job, and that's not something that I'm interested in. The game is selling right now for $19.99, but February 12th it's going up to $24.95, and it is not worth that. Not anywhere close from what I'm seeing. This could have been a $5 game, maybe a $10 game, but a $20 game? Yeah, right. Let's move on. Let's see. Here we have a re-release of an old game, I'm pretty sure, because Pico Interactive as a publisher only re-releases old games. It's called Eric the Unready. It seems like this is, yeah, one of those old school fantasy RPG games. Really, really old. $5.09. I vaguely maybe recall this game. Is this the joke game that's the story of Lord of the Rings and other things? Was this one with the ring race where there weren't actually any rings in the game? Yeah, I think I may have played this back in the day for like an hour or two, but I really doubt it's worth having or owning these days.
So many possibilities.
Yeah, what could I really do with something like that is not a lot. Hit this, and hit this, and hit this. And it just picked for me. Interesting. So yeah, if you have any nostalgia for Eric the Unready, you might be interested in playing that, but otherwise you probably aren't. But it is nice that Pico Interactive is spending the effort to re-release old things.
I'll just run down.
Attack. Wind Fury. Attack. Plus 3 health. There. In the turn. Next we have a game on Steam, also from Pico Interactive, called Mission Critical, that looks like it's got some full motion video in it. I have to wonder if maybe I played this game too. I don't think I did. $5.09.
Arena's full. Beat it. Is someone injured?
I'm gonna have to just look at the Pico line and decide whether I want to put them on the wish list or not, because they are teasing something that we don't get a lot of, which is the really old games. Right. Can I do anything to get rid of anything else? Not really. So we'll attack here. Attack here. Attack this. And poison.
You have better.
And he'll just quit. Now we've drawn 14 cards, and we'll go ahead and just again try to friend people so we can watch and learn. And just hop in. And the next game we have on Steam is an old game called The Dame Was Loaded. Now this isn't a game I played, but this does look like a game I totally would have played had I ever seen it. Again, Pico Interactive, old FMV game. This one's probably a shooter. I know that there were some shooter games where the story would play out and you had to shoot, and if you didn't shoot the right people at the right time, you would die, and the story wouldn't end. $5.09. Let's see. 9 different endings, over 40 hours of gameplay. Interesting. So yeah, another game that I guess I'm gonna put on the follow list or the wish list. A lot of these old games, kinda I just want to own them to support the re-release of old games, in the same way that some of the adult games I kinda want to just own them to support the industry that's publishing adult games. I'd love to have them, but as a video game critic, as a YouTuber, with time management being a big deal, I suspect some of these games will never get played in any sense. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article, Solstice Chronicles MIA for Switch launches February 7th. It's a top-down shooter. Not sure if it's Japan only right now or if it's worldwide release. It doesn't look like there's anything too interesting about it. You can watch the trailer, I suppose.
Almost out of time.
Yeah, a Switch top-down shooter. Even the trailer here is showing it in the frame of a Switch, so the graphics must not be good at all. Yeah, that is not an intriguing concept of a game. There's that attack. TechRaptor has an article. Dragon Ball game Project Z puts you in Goku's shoes. It's coming in 2019. So I don't think that this is going to just be a straight up fighting game though. I don't think this is just, we're taking the concept of Dragon Ball Fighters and we are once again going to try and sell your game based on the same license. This is going to have to be more of an adventure game where you go to different places and have a lot more dialogue and a lot more conversation. And in the end, I think maybe since Dragon Ball as a series is just so old, it might be better to sell it as a fighting game than it does to sell it as a story-based adventure fighting game, because the story's not that good, frankly, and everybody kind of knows it. But there's also a problem with Dragon Ball games just constantly being resold and resold and resold. Meanwhile, there's DLC characters that add a couple more fighters to Dragon Ball Fighters. I guess you also run into a problem where for the Dragon Ball series right now there's kind of no new content coming out. Like there are new episodes I think coming out, but they're not coming out fast enough. So what do you do with that? I think it's very possible that they are overestimating the popularity. They're doing a very Japanese thing here where they saw Dragon Ball FighterZ was very popular. That means we can sell anything and everything Dragon Ball and it will sell really well. And I think they're setting themselves up for disappointment, as they often do. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article. Epic overhauls how loot boxes work in Fortnite Save the World. The developer aims for transparency and avoiding item duplicates. Let's see. And it says below this is interesting. This is a news brief article. Read more about this story by following the link below, and the link below takes you straight to Epic Games. Interesting. So they're not even trying to rewrite or copyright the, not copyright as in I own the copyright of something, but just copyright as in journalism, taking a announcement and writing it to make your own version of it, so you're not plagiarizing somebody. And I guess maybe you're making your own version actually to claim copyright on the article, although I seriously doubt any news station or reporter would ever claim copyright on the article. Well, Epic Games has this 3-paragraph article here talking about trying to add transparency to the loot boxes, but I imagine they're just doing barely enough to keep themselves from getting in trouble with well, everybody. Somebody mentioned a couple of programs, one called LICECAP, L-I-C-E-C-A-P, and what was the other one called? Maybe I closed that tab. But they were programs that just take video and take screenshots and make animated GIFs. It was a video game programmer specifically talking about how people put up animated GIFs on Twitter and such of their games, and there's 2 open source softwares, one of which was called Licecap, so that, I guess that's as good as you're gonna get. Is this a demon? No. Look.
Your soul is mine.
I stole my card.
Die, mage.
Ready attack.
So yeah. So if you ever need to make an animated GIF of something, that's an interesting idea. I don't believe YouTube supports animated GIFs, and instead is actually, they were experimenting at least for a while of showing auto-playing videos. In all honesty, I don't think I'd be able to make an animated GIF of anything interesting happening in most of my footage anyways. You'd have to speed up the footage quite a bit and spend a lot of effort on it.
Can this go on?
Let's just freeze this guy then. And what are we gonna do? Let's just end the turn here for now until we decide what we're gonna do. Gamata has an article, Kingdom Hearts 3 Memory Archive English Summer Movies. Departures, Memories, Twilight Dawn, and Darkness. So these are, they're not summer movies, they're summary movies. I misread that, yeah. So I think these summarize the general idea of what's going on in the Kingdom Hearts world. In all honesty though, for me personally, if you wanted to get me into Kingdom Hearts, you're gonna have to convince me to... You're gonna have to convince me by remaking all of Kingdom Hearts at this point. You would have to say, here, we're gonna merge the like 20 games that are in the series down into a much more reasonable like 3 games at most, and we're gonna get rid of a lot of the grinding, and we're gonna get rid of a lot of the repetitiveness. We're just gonna almost make it a boss rush and cutscene style game. I watched a YouTube video that tried to summarize the whole thing, and they said that basically most of Kingdom Hearts 1, where you're going to Disney worlds and doing things, doesn't matter, so you could probably cut out a lot of the Disney stuff and still be fine. Let's see, do I really want to get rid of this guy? Not bad. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called The Pack. Looks like it might be a visual novel without any people in it. Oh look, here's a person. There's a person. Barely. It's $1.99. This is an English-Russian game. 2.5 hours of read time. Yeah, it's a simplistic, just bad visual novel. Nothing here looks interesting. Like the part of a visual novel is it has to be visually appealing, so you can't just have generic backgrounds with maybe a stationary image. Yeah. Even the Japanese are starting to move away from the way visual novels used to look into a more 3D animated characters. even if it is mostly focused on talking. Let's see. Next we have a hidden object game on Steam called Tales of Sorrow Strasbourg Town. That's $2.99. HH Games, the same publisher. Man, they are flooding Steam with games. Apparently they have a lot of them ready and willing to go. But yeah, this is a hidden object game, so I wouldn't want to play it anyways, even if it is cheap. And we'll go ahead and try and friend this person, but clearly I'm gonna have to try and get a watch and learn off screen, because that's not gonna happen here. Let's now switch to the Asian account, and I'm not sure how much time we're really gonna spend on the Asian account, because we're working down towards the last few bits of news, and once we get the bits of news done and get just the 2 daily quests that need to be done, well, once we get the news done, I'm just gonna end streaming. That certainly has been the new approach I've started taking with Hearthstone, is that I'm just not willing to play Hearthstone on screen if I have nothing to talk about, and often I don't have anything to talk about. Alright, so we've got 3 games, Mage, and Warlock. Warlock would win some more. Let's try Druid or Priest. Let's go with Druid. And we're looking for victories, so we'll do that. GameIndustry.biz has this article, The Crazy and Costly World of First Four Figures. How one Facebook group is transforming the fortunes of the company making $600 video game statues. Let's see. This seems like an odd almost advertisement for a company called First Four Figures. $400 resin statues. It's not completely unheard of to spend ridiculous amounts of money on resin statues and action figures. It's stupid, undoubtedly, but people do it, certainly for all kinds of comic book characters and video game things. Unfortunately, I don't think this is really a story worth mentioning. This is just somebody getting paid to write an article. Or, yeah, probably from First Four Figures.
Job's done.
Let's see. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, Demo, D-E-M-O, Reborn, Taipei Game Show 2019 gameplay. Demo, I believe, is a musical game. That's a rhythm game. And so they've got some footage of how it plays. That's one victory. You're playing as this long-haired little girl, anime girl. Although in video games, aren't they all? Unless they're doing the hyper-realistic, and she's wandering around a tree that has a piano in it. And I think that's probably the menu. And then she's opened like a music book that is showing different songs you can play, or different levels. Let me skip ahead. This is like a fraction of a 6-hour stream, and people are just talking. Yeah, and it just skipped to a different game when I skipped forward, so there's very little actual gameplay here. So demo is still pretty much a mystery, and I would need to see more gameplay before it would potentially even strike me as a important or different style rhythm game compared to all the other rhythm games. 80-point quest. Let's see.
I concede.
I'm gonna concede to that guy then. I will play for 80 gold. And we'll take this and we'll play here. GIFcam is the other software to make animated GIFs. If you're interested in that. Next we have a game on Steam called Secret Savings, which
You asked for it.
seems like it's just a asset flip game in a 3D environment where you might be looking around, stealing things, or collecting money. $9.99 for a VR game. Doesn't seem like there's really anything going on there though, as far as the game.
Hello.
None will survive.
Yeah.
Job
Good.
done.
My
Greetings, intern.
Prove your worth, Kerr.
TechRaptor has an article. Subnautica Below Zero launches on Steam, Epic, and Discord next week. So Subnautica Below Zero is a continuation sequel to Subnautica. It's entirely different location with brand new characters. They're calling it an expand-alone title. So I guess the idea is Subnautica is the Pokemon Red and Subnautica Below Zero is the Pokemon Blue type idea of the game. Oh, by the way, I watched a speedrun of Pokemon Moon. Yeah. While it's still the same general idea of Pokemon, it at least slightly it changes the world and changes the characters you're playing as. It does something new, at least at some parts. But I would argue that I think Moon is 6th generation Pokemon. It feels like a lot of things could have been improved upon still. To not have the games be the exact same things again. It makes an odd scenario where I just don't know which Pokemon should be the first Pokemon for a new kid to play. Because, well, I would say Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee is the first one they should play, because that one is way better improved, in my opinion, than just the mainline story ones. Because the mainline story ones kind of stick way too much to the same old formula. Let's see. That's good enough.
Job done.
TechRaptor has an article. The Humble Bundle Winter Encore sale ends Monday. So Humble Bundle is selling a bunch of games. It's not a real Humble Bundle, I don't think. I think it's just a sale on their store. And I don't generally buy games directly from their store. There's too many sales to deal with if that was the way things were gonna go.
We will devour this world.
And
Revenge! Find a room!
there we go. Next we have a game on Steam called Depth of Consciousness, which is a platformer with pixels, Super Meat Boy style. Very visually lacking with just solid black backgrounds and bright white foregrounds. You're gonna have to have really sharp angles or a lot of shading if you're gonna go for a black and white aesthetic. 59 cents discounted, an English Russian game, so that's not something that interests me. So we play these. We do this. This.
For the wild.
Job's done.
Now he may have had to challenge me, so I may have just played him and challenged him and not allowed us to win the challenge a friend quest. So I'm gonna sit after I win here and see what happens. And
Mushroom power!
TechRaptor has an article. Durante co-founds a PC porting studio. Durante brackets Peter Thomaine. I see. Yeah, I think he had to challenge me. And 80-point quest. 80 points is the only one that I have. So is he gonna challenge me this time? Let's see. Peter Thomaine has announced that he's getting into the porting business, starting PH3 Games, an offshoot of the main PH3 studio. Yeah, he had to challenge me. Oops. I'll have to remember that. I kind of knew that, but I figured he would cancel it and then accept the challenge me. Let's see. Durante surfaced on August 2012 with DS Fix, a fix that essentially made Dark Souls playable. Oh, that's who Durante is. He's the one that's been modding games and fixing them. Let's see. He says, I'm miss, as in my mistake, I guess is what he means to say. I mean, we are on the Asian account, so his English is probably not the best. So yeah, Durante, he's earned a reputation, according to TechRaptor, as someone who can take a game and bring it up to scratch relatively quickly. Wasn't he working for somebody? Didn't he get hired by somebody? What would be funny is if this turned into a job where his first project is to remaster Dark Souls and get it running really, really well on PC.
Speak your peace.
Moving on though, we're trying to get through all the news. Next we have a game on Steam called The River, which is literally just a black screen for this major dark screenshot syndrome as I'm skipping through all these screenshots. I guess this video eventually started to play, but yeah, you can see this is just a asset flip horror style game. Early access, $9.99. Massive update. Yeah, right. And attack here.
Your magic shall not save you.
This next game is interesting. Let's play our turn first. Right, do this, or we can do this, or we can do this. Attack, attack, attack. So we have got this game on Steam called Gyro Buster, which looks like it is a straight up Beyblade clone game. Now, the thing about Beyblade though is even though the cartoon was out there trying to make it interesting, I don't think it ever was super popular. And as a game, it's kind of boring and kind of dumb. Yeah, so this really wouldn't be something I would want to put on my follow list. It's early access for $11.99. It has in-app purchases. Maybe this is popular in China, or Japan, or Korea, or Thailand, or just Asia in general. But yeah, certainly not something that ever felt like it was popular here. In the United States or in the West. So we're just gonna have to go with this. And get rid of that. And
Time waits for no one.
Attack them. But that certainly is a unique style game. It's more interesting to see somebody make a Beyblade clone than yet another visual novel or asset flip game. Let's see. Hit that. And then summon that. And then hit that. And summon that. And then we'll play this. So they all death rattle again.
Job's done.
In the turn. Tech Raptors has an article. Game developers want to unionize according to the GDC Year in Review 2019. Yeah, no duh. I mean, this was a survey of developers at the Game Developers Conference. Not really surprising they want to unionize. The question is, will they succeed at unionizing? Because guess who doesn't want them to unionize? The companies they all work for. And I wouldn't be super surprised if the video game industry in general just thought we could just fire everybody who makes video games today and replace them. And they could probably get away with quite a lot of that. There's some numbers in this survey that are getting reported by TechRaptor, but the general gist is yes, video game developers spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, and get compared to other industries are underpaid and underappreciated. They should unionize. Good luck to them on that. It's going to be real news when they actually succeed at it, and not a second more earlier.
Mushroom!
There we go. 80 gold and 60 gold. Which then that only leaves me with, let's see, mage class cards or 3 victories with the priest or warlock. I'm gonna go with mage class cards. And if we're gonna play, we might as well play ranked here. Next we have this game on Steam called Card Brawl, which this looks interestingly animated as an RPG card battler game, probably deck builder game. I'm willing to put this on the fall list. I like the art style, it's kind of unique. It's doing some things a little bit differently with the interface. Instead of doing the standard Hearthstone, all the cards are at the bottom for you and there's a bunch of cards at the top that don't matter, and all the enemies are taking up the middle of the thing. This is $1.19 too, so this might not be a super long game, and the idea of playing a card game that's not that long would be slightly interesting, certainly. Yeah, there's an appeal to that. Meanwhile, I probably should play Slay the Spire at some point as a card deck building game too. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get around to it anytime soon. I guess if we're just playing cards, we should just play cards. Next we have a game on Steam called Attack of the Giant Mutant Lizard, which almost looks like a clone of the arcade game where you would climb walls and destroy buildings. Rampage is the name of that game, yeah. But that's not really what this is. This is just an asset flip game. Early access for $1.99.
What to do?
An incredible discovery!
So of course Attack of the Giant Mutant Lizard not making it to the wish list. Next we have a game just by Asian characters that is already mostly negative. It looks like it's a text only game of some sort, probably a troll game. It looks pretty awful from the screenshots. English is not supported, it's $1.75, and it's a Chinese only game, so yeah, it does not look good. Secret damage, do 1 damage to a minion. If I played a coin, could I do this? Yes, coin, do that damage. I only have about 5 more games. There was a, I believe, Overwatch article that was mentioned, worth mentioning apparently. Apparently this was maybe not an Overwatch, maybe this was in Fortnite. So yeah, I don't have the article in front of me so I could get this wrong. But someone somewhere, a group of kids basically, put in their description of their team, this might have been even Rainbow Six Siege, no girls as the descriptor. It's like, so the descriptor said something like new players. It may not have said new players, but something like that. Maybe it said where they were, so let's just say they were in Colorado. New players in Colorado, no girls. Now the exact phrase for it said no girls, and I would argue the interpretation here is pretty odd, that you would immediately assume that means no girls allowed, as much as it might simply mean there are no girls in your clan. But I guess inherently, if you're describing your clan as there are no girls in it, that means no girls are allowed. So either way, it in the long run means the same thing. And apparently this has been an okay thing to do in many games. I get kind of the idea too. It's not too many. There have been gentlemen's clubs and ladies only clubs of sorts all over the place, although there are quite frankly a lot more places of prominence and power where gentlemen are only allowed and ladies are excluded. So yeah, I can kind of see what, whether it was Rainbow Six Siege or Fortnite or Overwatch we're saying here, and they banned the clan because it said no girls for being sexist. I can kind of see what they're trying to do. That being said, it's not really the place of a video game company. This is really where it boils down to: if you believe in free speech and the right to freely associate with people, that means sexist people should be allowed to exclude other sexes. Racist people should be allowed to exclude other racist people, even if it's disgusting.
Someone injured?
Like, nobody's gonna make a legitimate argument to say the Ku Klux Klan has to include minorities in it, because that's not really a solution to anything. That's just kind of forced integration that will only lead to resentment. It's much better to argue against the existence of such organizations instead of forcing and convince those organizations to shut themselves down and disband, than it is to force something to disband and hide in the shadows. Generally speaking, my understanding as far as online was that most people most clans, most online players would love to have a female player on there. Now, maybe they don't approach the female player once she does join with the maximum amount of couthness, and maybe they're awkward and hitting on the female, but let's see. And if you flipped it the other way, and if you made a clan that said gay players only, homosexual players only, I bet the same company would be perfectly fine with that. If it was a LGBTQI only group, I bet it would not have gotten banned. But that is just speculation on my part. But that would be as exclusionary as any other group. Moving on though, TechRaptor has an updated article. It says updated permanent Overwatch price drop for PC is now live. This might mean that Overwatch is starting to lose a bit of its income. All games and the economy in the United States in general have been on the downslide, so the economy is just not doing great, probably in part due to the China trade war.
My will is not my own.
But yeah, I imagine everybody is trying to get a little bit more money. Overwatch is getting a little bit older. So there's definitely some things there. Hearthstone had this blog that I mentioned, and I didn't have it open last stream, so we'll talk about it now. It's called Ranked Play Update, A Faster Climb. We've heard a lot of feedback about the long climb in rank playing, so starting in February, ranked play season, we're introducing a quality of life change by reducing the number of stars required to advance in many of the ranks. Currently, every rank has 5 stars, that was a thing that was added, and so they're kind of undoing the thing they had just done. So that shows flippantness and that they really didn't do it. So going forward, until they make another change, in February, rank 50 to rank 60, which by the way, they added 25 ranks to start off with. Rank 50 to rank 16 is 3 stars per rank, which means I probably will start hitting much higher ranks than rank 16. Rank 15 to rank 11 will be 4 stars per rank, and rank 10 to rank 1 will be 5 stars per rank. I might actually start ranking around rank 11 or even rank 10 going forward at that. So that's real good news. That's a cool thing that hopefully doesn't somehow counterbalance itself out and I still end up at the lowest ranks of rank 20 or lower. But that's probably about one of the biggest exciting changes you could make. I suppose it's worth mentioning that some of these games after every stream, again, when I look at them a second time and give them a second thought, sometimes they don't actually make it to the follow list. So yeah, there was 2 or 3 games that I said, oh, I'll give this game the benefit of the doubt, and then I went back a couple hours later and looked at it again and went, nah, this really doesn't need to be on the follow list. It's not something I'd actually play. Let's play one more game and then that'll be the end of this recording. Next we have a game on Steam called Warzone VR, which looks a little polished, but you can see it's already mostly negative, so people are not having any fun with it. Early access VR game for $8.99. I bet it crashes like crazy. But, yeah, this isn't just it doesn't completely look like an asset flip game. It looks like somebody's really trying to do something there. Quality wise, they're just not really succeeding. Next we have a game on Steam called Anti-Grav Bamboo Copter, which looks like a simplistic sort of flying around platforming game. Not anything of real interest. It's $1.59 discounted. It's a Chinese game. Not really surprised there. I have like 2 more pages. Let's go and play that. And then end the turn. Next we have a game called the Spook Inspectors, which if it wanted an asset flip game, it might be an interesting idea. Like a Ghost Hunter style game. You could start a game that way, but then I think in the first couple hours you would need to completely admit the house is haunted and have the person find some kind of weapon like a gun that could shoot ghosts. $3.99 for the Spook Inspectors. And yeah, it's not worth it. Do this. And do this. And then the turn. And I'm still running into problems with the GeForce experience refusing to optimize my games. I don't think I'm gonna ever get it fixed at this point. It seems to me like it's something really wrong with it. I've gone into save mode. I've tried to use cleaners to uninstall it and start over. either it's my network is blocking their telemetry tracking terribly, or something else is just screwed up. Like, I feel like I probably need to do a fresh install of my entire PC, and that is not worth it at all. I'm looking at the Humble Bundle. The Double Fine Bundle has about 13 hours left, and then it's done, and I imagine in a couple of days there will be a new bundle to replace it, because there's no other game bundles. Which then that brings me back. Well, we could look at Twitch and just see if there's any Twitch Prime things. No, not lately. Although I may have grabbed a couple Twitch Prime things and not mentioned them. Still really not going to do anything with that. Somebody commented on my Commander Keen video, and that was nice to see somebody actually watch it. And be nostalgic for an old game. That was always the theory of my YouTube channel, is that I'd cover a bunch of lesser known older games, and that would have people finding my videos more than trying to play the most popular competed against games, AAA games that are brand new. Apparently Fiverr also will allow you to hire people to make a logo, although I doubt me having a new logo would change or improve the channel by much.
Starlight.
Like, I do need an artist, but I need an artist that I could develop a relationship with. Let's see, Gematsu has an article here. Demo for Switch version 1.5 update now available. I didn't realize demo was already out. There's a game on Steam. Let's see. Let's see. Borderlands is trying to get people to follow on Instagram. Apparently this guy has a watch and learn.
Mushroom power!
Let's see. Epic Games has a tweet from 2 hours ago. We're aware players are experiencing issues while attempting to use the Epic Games service. We're working on a resolution and we'll keep you updated. No new update in 2 hours. How long do you go before you put out an update? That's a
We have many secrets.
interesting question. C6 plus 2 would be 8, plus this would be 11, so
Worked all along.
just pull that. Tech Raptor has some quick thoughts on the Anthem VIP demo. Frankly, I don't care about the VIP demo. I want to see what the actual game is in its finished state. Switch system update 7.0.0 is now available. Yeah, these are not particularly important bits of news. You can see the Game Hero stat came out 3 hours ago, so that's, I think, all the news. 4 hours ago, Hearthstone aired on my channel because I started so late. And I'm now just scrolling through my Twitter feed and looking at things I've already looked at. 5 hours ago, Borderlands 2 episode 88 aired on my channel.
Science overwhelmed.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really be saying. Yeah, there's no new news other than that. Okay, well, we've been going for about 3 hours. Again, I didn't break up the episodes. We got the 2 daily quests done. So we just have like 1 daily quest on this account, and I don't even think we have any other daily quests. If we do, it's 1 on the European account, and that's it. So that's gonna be it for this stream. Oh, we got a challenge a friend. Yes, we'll do a challenge a friend then. Might as well. What do we want to do? I don't remember what my daily quests were, so let's see. It wasn't druid, so it's gotta be priest. Let's take priest. Yep. Yeah. We'll just play this game real quick and then we'll wrap up and get another 80 gold. No real notification of when the next expansion is going to happen. Valentine's Day is approaching, so also at some point we're going to have to decide. I would have had to decide if I was going to do any kind of Valentine's Day streams or videos. I'm not. What I would have done in Valentine's Day is probably tried to play an adult game, but I don't have time for it, and YouTube is still up their own butt about being family friendly, and so it would just be a lot of work.
Flesh fails. Try resistance.
Greetings.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll down my Twitter feed to see if there actually is any news that might pop up later, but I'm fairly certain nothing will. Like, Twitter's still weird about how you reach a certain point and then it starts showing you new content again.
Crystallize.
Even though it is in chronological order, supposedly. A new version of OBS is in the works, so give it a few more weeks and maybe I'll upgrade the software and maybe there'll be something cool or interesting that I can do that I couldn't do before. I doubt it, but it could happen. All that Mortal Kombat news disappeared real quick. I guess people were just not super happy with the content that was being shown, so they went quiet. That was a bad announcement, quite frankly. Having live action actors that looked terrible play the characters of well-known people in the Mortal Kombat universe. Apparently it's Elijah Wood's birthday, according to ThinkGeek.
In the light's name.
There we go.
Astounding. I was kind of hyped for Metro Exodus. So now you're in this weird position where you're still kind of getting the feeling that, like, hey, there's people actually on the chat. When did people jump on the chat? Must have been right as we're wrapping up. Let's see. Mika Johnson, are you a North America priest? I'm on the Asian account right now and I'm about to wrap up.
I wonder.
But my main account is the Americas account.
Adam Ruins Everything, the guy, if you know who he is, started a podcast, and it's about interviewing people who make video games. And the first person he had on his YouTube podcast was, well, at least that's what I saw it on his YouTube, was Edmund McMillan, the creator of Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac. I haven't listened to it yet, but it probably will be slightly interesting to listen to. Inherently, though, a lot of these people, a lot of game developers go on a lot of podcasts and shows and then don't say anything that is actually worth reporting on, or it's so inside baseball stuff that you would have to be an aspiring game developer to care about it at all. Yeah, I'm kind of just in this waiting position where I feel like we'll eventually have to wait for the Epic Store to come and go as a failure before we can do anything more. I should have drawn a card. Yeah. Before we can get those games that are becoming Epic Store exclusives on Steam. Or they might be 6 months exclusives and then come to Steam. I'm really not rooting for the Epic Store to succeed. So I'm hoping to see that their sales are not great and people abandon it as a concept really quickly. Was playing the right thing. It was Priest of Warlock, but I would have had to win. Okay, well, on that note, we got another 80 gold. We're doing good on gold. That's it for this stream. Thanks for watching. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me game off my wishlist. Have a good evening. Thank you for watching again.